so does, based upon that, I mean, what do you think, if you were looking down the road a little bit, I'm curious about what anybody could sort of imagine what the licensing platform of the near future would look like. In my mind, I always thought that we already started, as I said, as I indicated earlier, that we've already started to see iterations of that with Storyblok, Shutterstock, Adobe, Canva, taking on technologies to enhance the experience of the user, not just acting as a licensing platform. Does anybody want to jump into that a little bit? What they sort of imagine, you know, what these tools that you guys have all developed. I could imagine, you know, platforms hosting all of them, you know, giving the experience at every step of the way. You know, I see an object, or I see a piece of media that I want to license, and now I have the ability to integrate it, let's say, into Zero Lens, to do some further modification, or then into Clade AI if that is the appropriate platform. Likewise with Perfectly Clear, or integrating any of the codecs and solutions that Pam spoke about. There was the platforms that we presently are familiar with are nothing more than, again, transactional experiences rather than places I go to actually perform all of these actions. And with this technology available, it's inevitable, I believe, that these platforms, licensing platforms, will transform themselves into places where not only do I go to license that content, but this is where I do all of my best and most creative work. Does anybody want to jump into that? Or
yeah, sure, I can jump in again. But I think there's many answers to these questions, right? So first of all, the question is, where does the content come from in the beginning, right? Is it still photography? Is it 3D rendering? Is it guns that have been handpicked to get the content? And then I think the second question you were asking is, what happens at the time of purchase right after it? I think one of the biggest issues that we are seeing with our customers is the handoff problem. You develop something, and it's even more that case for stock photography, and it's not going to be perfect, right? It's just going to be 95% of what you want it to be. And the question is, what can we develop at the point of handoff where we can make it 100%, 99% perfect of what we actually wanted? And then I think technologies come into play again. But we need to ask the question beforehand is, where did the image get created? How did it get created? If it's still photography and it has been created with a camera, I think things like Clade AI or Perfectly Clear are awesome because you can enhance the images. Maybe you can have even more complex filters on top, like you would see in TikTok or Instagram. They can make it a little bit more exciting. But I think at the end, we're going to transform this industry into something completely different. And the licensing part will be decided by how the image is created.
Anybody else? Sophia, Brad?
Yeah, I actually want to add on, because Nick just briefly mentioned about GANs and all this industry where it's moving. So I agree that currently we work with post-processing, right? We have the original file, either photo, video, and we apply some effects. But the whole idea of how the content would be creating, and with the modern development of these neural networks, that will definitely change. I'm not sure that it will replace it all, but it will definitely take a big part. So I personally really big fan of AI generated art. It's been for the few years. Some, like when you mix the original file, like a photo, with some other art create, and I'm truly amazed. We've been working with GAN Technologies for the last 3 years. So I'm still amazed with some results that they come up with, because they do not follow human patterns. They do not think as we think. You can combine a few GANs and can get something incredibly unique. There is already some online servers that you can play with, like GAN Breeder, Art Breeder, when you can just mix textures, add some photos, and create something that would be just truly yours. And I think with also with a new neural network that just OpenAI released recently, DALL-E, when you can just input what you need, like text input. I want, I don't know, a bird sitting on the table with some forest in the background, and analyzing this contextual data, GAN can create something as a result. For now, it's not very good. You need to play with that. It definitely sees patterns and can produce the result that would look like that, but it's still not commercial usage. But it's going like the quality of GANs and generative technologies. There's not just GANs, but GANs are the most popular. I will be growing every year. So the photorealistic quality will increase, and eventually we might be able to use that.
I wanted to ask Pam. Oh, go ahead, Pam, please.
Oh, I was just going to add, I think that this is an area where GANs is filling a gap in the existing kind of licensing agencies, perhaps, where, you know, we're not just talking about modifying things on the way out and making something better, but how do you improve search and discovery? You know, people right now kind of, even like there's just bare bones metadata available for each clip, each shot within many agencies. And so, you know, if you could do a search saying, I would like a bird sitting on a table in daylight in Kenya, then, you know, if you could find that, that would be great. But as we can't right now, there is this market for generating it.
Right. I wanted to ask.
I mean, Mark, I guess again, tying back a little bit on AI neural networks, there's again different aspects where self-generated training and improving automatically versus more of a static model, but it's created with the human interaction, and that's one thing that we find is often overlooked and is important. The AI is only as good as the people putting the data set into it, and certainly being aware of that, and people have biases as well. And I see another comment, skin tone issues with GANs, and yeah, skin tones, our Chinese customers have a different preference than our customers over in India, than our customers in Africa, than our customers in North America. And then there's individual preferences of a pro lab versus a consumer lab. And then when you do something on print versus screen, there's a lot of factors to incorporate in that model. And so to answer your question, Mark, in terms of, you know, how is AI relevant, and for today, I'll just address that for image quality, because that's what we're experts in. AI certainly helped us to make it more robust. So being able to, as you guys saw in my video, identify certain skin tones and then be able to target corrections using classical corrections from what pro editors would do once they know this is a porcelain skin tone or a ebony skin tone or somebody in Asia. Targeting that correction makes it more robust. So that's, I guess, how I'd commenting a little bit. That's why it's easy to take AI and say it's the end all and be all, and then you'll have issues with skin tones if it's not done correctly.